Is this the ultimate derailleur? In this video, we're going to take a look at the Madrone jab rear derailleur. I've been following the development of this derailleur for actually a couple of years. It's kind of intriguing. What makes it special, aside from the nice silver color, is that it's rebuildable and it has all sorts of different parts that you can change to work with different drivetrains. So you can use the same rear derailleur with a mountain bike shifter and a road shifter, SRAM, Shimano, all by swapping out a bunch of different little modular parts. Madrone, if you're not familiar with them, is a US-based company. They're based out of Ashland. They had initially wanted to create a completely US-built rear derailleur, but the cost would have been like astronomical. So while the parts of the derailleur are fabricated overseas, there is a lot of assembly that takes place in Ashland at their shop. I haven't been personally, but from what I hear and from what I've seen, it's actually a fairly labor-intensive process to put one of these together. Before we get into how it shifts, if you guys have been enjoying these videos on kind of quirky independent parts, please consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon or becoming a YouTube member or picking up one of these shirts from our merch store. It's the best way to do it. It allows us to keep making content, follow all the weird trends and independent builders that we love. So if you like that, check out the links below. How does it shift? So right now I have it built up on the black hard aluminum all-road, and it's a 1151 rear cassette. I believe it's a Derailleur in 11 speeds, just because I want to stay within the HG hub family and not go microspline or SRAM XD hub. The chain is 11 speed and the shifters are some Shimano 105 11 speed shifters. I believe it's the R7000. So let's see how it goes. So I've had this set up on a couple of rides, and I have to say, this is one of the best shifting derailleurs and shifter combinations I've ever tried. I feel like it's as good as a native Shimano rear derailleur, if not a little bit better. I actually think this shifts a lot crisper and cleaner than the 12-speed Derailleur I have on the Sklar at the moment. It might be because the materials are just a little bit more rigid. It really feels like there's less play than kind of the more plasticky composite derailleurs out there, and just like snaps into place. On the road, I haven't had a single misshift. Usually on the larger side of the cassette, that's when there's the most tension on the chain. Sometimes you have to kind of guide the chain up there, but here it just pops into place. So in terms of shift quality, if you're wondering, is it as good as a native Shimano rear derailleur with something like the road shifter? I'd say it's as good, if not slightly better. Again, early days, I've only had this on the bike for about 2 weeks and only a handful of rides, but so far I am thoroughly impressed. I was gonna be perfectly happy if it shifted like just as good as like a GRX rear derailleur. I feel like it shifts that tiny bit crisper and more precise feeling. All right, let's take a closer look at the rear derailleur. One of the things you'll notice is this little jockey wheel here. If you buy the gravel/road or mountain bike version, there will be different iterations of this jockey wheel. I see no harm in just getting it with this version, where it gives you a barrel adjuster to adjust. That way you have maximum flexibility of putting it on a mountain setup that doesn't need it, or a road setup that does. When I set this up initially, it actually had this one, which is the more mountain bike version. And as you can see, it just sets in with one single screw here. Pretty simple. That pops out, and then you put in the one with the barrel adjuster, and there's also notches so you can adjust the angle of how the cable comes into the rear derailleur. So that's pretty cool. It allows you to kind of adjust the angle of entry of the cable depending on your bike. The other thing that makes this rear derailleur really special, of course, are these adjustable like cable fin plates. And this is really the heart of the secret sauce. Depending on what shifter you're trying to use it with, whether it's road or mountain, SRAM or Shimano, 10, 11, or 12 speed, They've got a plate for you. This attaches to the rear derailleur with just 2 simple bolts. And as you can see how they have printed it, there's really only one way to install it, so you can't get it wrong. You can't do it upside down by accident, and there's this notch to really kind of guide you through the process. I feel like all the modular things are really thought out and really self-explanatory. You don't have to, I mean, you should still dive into a manual, but like I feel like most people will be able to sort it out. Other than that, it sets up like a normal rear derailleur, if you will. There's a B tension screw over here, and there is a low and a high limit setting. I forget which is which exactly at the moment, but one is a little bit more easy to access. It's on the outside of the rear derailleur. Other one is tucked in a little bit. To get to it, I've found that it works best to engage the cage lock, which is done in a really interesting way. Cage lock, if you don't know, basically holds the cage open, kind of releases a little bit of the tension so you can make adjustments or get the wheel out or what have you. SRAM derailleurs have a button that locks it out. I believe they have a patent on that, and that's why like Shimano can't do it or other brands can't do it. It's not because like no one's ever figured out how to put a button on the cage. It's just locked down with patents. The way Madrone does it is that there are 2 holes basically where the SRAM pin would go through. And instead of having a button there, you just take a tool, 3mm Allen or something, and you plug it into the hole, and that holds it open. That kind of detensions things and makes it easier to make certain adjustments. I think it's thoroughly thought out and a great way to get around that patent. Other things that aren't so obvious is that, you know, you can replace the cage. If there's other parts that break, you can order those replacement parts and rebuild the rear derailleur. This is the silver version. You know, I love silver parts, so this is the one I requested to review. And it's pretty nice. I feel like it's in some ways almost too silver. It's like really, really shiny. In terms of how it feels in the hand, it does have kind of like a boxy, very angular look and feel to it. Not quite as like cyber turd as Shimano Q's, but still pretty boxy. On this sample that I have, there are places where it feels a little bit rough. You can feel the tool paths on some of the faces here. Some of the corners are just a little bit sharp and not beveled or polished. You're not gonna be touching the derailleur all that often after you have it installed. But in terms of what you get, you know, just so you're aware, it doesn't quite have that nice kind of scalloped, kind of humanous feel of older Shimano derailleurs, but it's silver. It's more silver than the Q's silver derailleur and more silver than the SRAM 1987 derailleur. Of course, it also comes in different colors. There's like a purple, a blue, there's a gray one. I like this one. It feels timeless. The gray one would have been nice too, maybe slightly more subdued. But overall, you know, you either love the look or you hate it. Another thing I love about this derailleur, it's really simple, is just the routing of the cable. It goes through the cable fin and pops back out. There's no way it angles into the cassette like how some other derailleurs set up. Okay, so what are the negatives? I mean, the price, it is not an inexpensive rear derailleur for sure. 100%. Let's put that baby to bed right now. Lots of factors contribute to this. Madrone is a very small company. They're doing the assembly in the States. Economies of scale, yada, yada, yada. There's no way you can compare the pricing to like a SRAM or Shimano that just makes millions of units and can, you know, amortize all the tooling and machining for their derailleurs. I think the fact that it's rebuildable, that if something breaks, you take a crash, you don't have to toss the whole thing and get a brand new one, unlike say like an electronic rear derailleur. That justifies the cost a little bit. Also just the flexibility. Again, there are all these little cable plates you can mix and match, use it for road, for mountain. That's really where the value proposition is. In some ways, you know, if Paul still made rear derailleurs today, there's probably a reason that they don't. They might do something like this, and like say like a Paul clamper, where it's not a disposable item, right? You kind of move those from bike to bike to bike. I can see that this is a derailleur where you can do that as well. Another downside is that it's 1x only. I know initially when they started this project, they were hoping to do it 2x, but in the process, they've discovered why it's difficult. So unfortunately, 1x only. They've noted the request for a 2x option, but you know, it's all dependent on how things go, right? Small company, niche product, high price point. You know, is there going to be enough demand to to warrant the future R&D of other iterations. I know in talking to them, they're hoping to offer a more affordable version in the future. But again, it's this kind of wait and see period. I think this is a great derailleur if you're a tinkerer like myself and are constantly changing shifters and speed cassettes and what have you. That's a really good natural fit, because I may move this to the Sklar 12 speed just to see if this shifts better than the Derailleur. So look for that video in the future. I might switch up this bike to a 2x system because it should be 2x. If you want a less expensive derailleur, there's lots of options out there. Again, when I make these videos, I'm not telling you that you have to buy it. I'm sharing my experience with it, so if you don't have a chance to see one in person, you know what to expect. It's just great, super modular, finishing a little bit rough and jagged in some places. There are aspects of it that feel like a little agricultural, but beyond aesthetics, just from like the pure shifting performance, I feel like it's better than some Shimano derailleurs I've tried. But that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, if you guys like this look at interesting small niche parts and brands, please consider supporting the channel. We're kind of like a niche small brand. Also, pick up some merch like our alt cycling shirts. These are print on demand, so if you order in the US, it'll ship from the US. If you order from Europe, it'll get printed and shipped from Europe. All the links below, and as always, keep the supple side down.